This weekend, at every wedding across the country, every bartender will be making one drink more than any other, because every kid is going to order the Shirley Temple. Ginger ale, grenadine, and a splash of maraschino cherry juice, and you're good to go. You're drinking like a grown-up. One of the origin stories of this drink is that an unnamed bartender at Chasen's mixed one of these up to serve to Shirley Temple. Chasen's was opened in 1936 by comedian Dave Chasen. And Dave had a deal with all the stars where if he recognized you or if the waitstaff recognized you, they wouldn't bring a bill to you at the end of your meal. They would then mail it to you at your home, and you could pay it whenever you felt like it. The restaurant was very popular with movie stars. Here's Rock Hudson and Elizabeth Taylor. Elizabeth loved Chasen's famous chili. She actually had 10 quarts of it mailed to the set of Cleopatra because she missed it so much. It was at Chasen's where a future president of the United States, Ronald Reagan, proposed to Nancy Davis. A musical was made about this moment called The Booth at Chasen's. And that booth where he proposed is now a complete setup at the Reagan Library in Simi Valley, California. He was in a movie called That Hagen Girl with Shirley Temple, and that was her final film. It was 1947, and 3 years later she announced that she was retired. Carol Burnett would go there after the taping of her Friday night shows, and she'd bring all of her guest stars and treat them to a meal. So, was the Shirley Temple created there? Shirley Temple didn't think so. She never liked the drink. It was far too sweet. And she believed that it was created by a bartender at the Brown Derby restaurant, and she had nothing to do with it. Now, the Brown Derby was a chain of restaurants, some of them shaped like hats, that was in mainly the Los Angeles area, opened in the 1920s, remained open until the 1980s. There is one in existence today. If you go down to Orlando, Florida, to Disney Hollywood Studios, the once Disney MGM Studios, they have a Brown Derby restaurant, a perfect replica of one of the restaurants, down to the last detail, and they have all the famous caricatures on the wall, so you can go around and look at drawings of stars, some of whom you remember, some of whom you've never seen before. There's also a replica of one of the hat buildings over at Universal, but they use it as a hat shop. Here's the menu for the one at Disney. Look at that. I mean, look at this. That's the classiest menu I own. You could get the white wine Flight of the Stars, or you could get the Cobb salad, which was apparently invented there. One night, Sid Grauman of Grauman's Chinese Theater went over to the real Hollywood Brown Derby in the middle of the night, and he said, "I'm so hungry." And the owner said, "I'll whip you up something," and went in the back, took a bunch of ingredients, chopped them up, put them in a bowl, boom, Cobb salad. It's named after Mr. Cobb, who owned the Brown Derby. They also had a healthy cake option called the grapefruit cake. This was because Luella Parsons was watching her weight and asked for a very wonderful diet dessert. And they were like, well, grapefruit's a diet food. If we stuff it into a cake, that will make the cake diet. It didn't make the cake diet at all. Maybe it was the Brown Derby, or maybe Shirley just confused the name of the restaurant. It was another Hollywood great restaurant, Chasen's. But either way, somewhere in Hollywood, they created the Shirley Temple. In 1988, Shirley Temple sued this company for making the Shirley Tea, a Shirley Temple drink. Here she is in an ad for RC Cola, Royal Crown Cola. And this was printed on a fan, so you were getting the vapors in Hollywood one night at the Brown Derby. Remember 2020? While we were all at home, this kid charmed all of us with his review of the Shirley Temple. And then he was dubbed the Shirley Temple King and would go from restaurant to restaurant rating and reviewing their Shirley Temples. I went to the Instagram page for it. It looks like he hasn't reviewed a Shirley Temple in over a year, so I guess he's moved on to something harder. They did make a Garbage Pail Kid of a Shirley Temple. This is a more recent one, but yeah, you can see the straw right through her. Now, I was told when I was a little kid, I was at a party, and I went up to the bartender. I said, "I need a Shirley Temple." And the bartender said, "Kid, let me tell you, you're a boy. You don't want a Shirley Temple. You want a Roy Rogers." And I said, "Whoa. Is this one garnished with fried chicken?" He said, No, it is not. This one is made, rather than ginger ale, with Coca-Cola, grenadine, and cherries. I'm surprised that Roy Rogers Restaurant has never served the Roy Rogers. I mean, that seems like a no-brainer. You're putting together the menu. Put a Roy Rogers up on there. I got to thinking about Shirley Temple lately because we've been talking about the Movie Land Wax Museum in Buena Park, California a lot. They have this good ship lollipop that is fascinatingly beautiful. And after the museum closed, it did not go out to that museum we looked at that's in Korea. Instead, the city decided that that was the one that the city of Buena Park was going to keep. And so while that building was still there, they cranked that air conditioning with the power off, like the lights out, air conditioning on full blast, blasting Shirley Temple so she never would melt. They didn't want to go in there and just find a pile of her. She's on a boat, by the way, in the actual song. Shirley Temple is not on a boat. She's on a plane. And if you listen to the lyrics, she mentions the pilot and everything else. And the good ship. I know she says ship, but it's a airship. In the early days of DVD, Shirley Temple was one you would find because a bunch of her films had become public domain, so they were on a bunch of very cheap DVDs, and you had a collection of VHS tapes, but you wanted to bulk up your DVD collection, at least have a few, so when people came by, they'd be like, well, you have a few DVDs. So I bought a Shirley Temple set, and I loved it. I mean, she was real sweet, incredibly cute, adorable little mop-headed little girl, and they wrote these movies around her, and it inspired the nation. I mean, the country had gone through like a world war and a Great Depression, and this little girl's smile, FDR, said that it raised the spirits of the nation. Then I remember when I grew up and she became like an ambassador, and I was like, what the heck? And I kept hoping, and I know she's passed on now, but I kept hoping towards the end of her life that she'd do like one comeback in some wild, and I don't care what it is, I don't care. I don't know if she needed to do like a Tarantino movie or something. Like she could have just done, the voice for whatever new Disney movie. It'd be like, whoa, is there Shirley Temple one more time? People can go see a Shirley Temple movie. But sadly, she had retired from acting and was done with it. The Disney Legend Flight. Fred McMurray Ranch. So this is the Fred McMurray Ranch Pinot Grigio. What are some of the other celebrities on? I always look for, Fess Parker. So you got Fred McMurray, he was the absent-minded professor. And then you have Fess Parker, who was the sidekick on the Davy Crockett Show. I like whenever there's a celebrity bottle. And they're like, we have Francis Ford Coppola's wine. I was like, it's an offer I can't refuse. The World Traveler Flight. It's one from Napa Valley, one from New Zealand, and one from Argentina. This is a lot of fun. Shirley Temple, Roy Rogers should bring you back to a day where you were just slam dancing on the dance floor at the age of 6 with all your cousins. And I saw this Chuck E. Cheese in the drawer when I was putting this together, and I was like, oh, well, there is no way I'm not going with that. By the way, from the general store at the Opryland Hotel. I did not go there. I got this at a dollar store one time, and I saw it, and I was like, wow. I mean, the Opryland Hotel went hard on the glasses if they're ending up at a dollar store in New Jersey. In a moment, a couple boxes are going to pop up on the screen, leading you to other videos. This one will be the one that YouTube says is best for you. But on this side, you're going to find a video I did about Roy Rogers. And this was based on a placemat I found that said, how well do you know Roy Rogers? And so I delved as deep as I could, learned everything I could about this great man. I enjoyed watching his movies. I still love eating his fried chicken. So that video will be up over here. Or you can click this one. Either way, come back tomorrow because I do a video every day at 2 o'clock. So I'll see you then.